Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk about all things health and healing from a holistic perspective. And today will be no different. Today we're going to be talking about how do I build muscle on a plant-based vegan diet? Because I've been getting this question literally for the last 12, 13 years since I went plant-based. How do you build muscle on a plant-based diet? Now, what I will tell you is that I get that question a lot because I'm about 6'2", around about 220 pounds. So I'm not a small person. I'm not a huge person, but I'm not a small person. And often when I'm in the gym and I'm lifting, sometimes I'll have on like one of my shirts that says plant powered or vegan muscle or something like that. And people will start the questioning. Now, I think it's a very important question from that angle, because then when I explain to them, it makes a little bit of sense to them. But I also think it's very important for this reason as well. As we tend to age, what you notice, whether you eat a vegan diet, a plant-based diet, or if you eat a completely meat or carnivore diet, what we tend to notice is that people tend to lose more and more muscle as they age and gain more and more fat. So this is really a conversation around body composition, okay? And what I mean by that is your body is composed of muscle, it's composed of fats, it's composed of many different things. And the two primary things we're going to focus on is fat composition and muscle composition, because we want more lean muscle mass on our body. And the reason why that's so important is because the more lean muscle mass that you have on your body, it has been scientifically proven that those individuals are just tend to be healthier. Okay, so that's number one. The other thing that I think is very important to understand around muscle wasting, or what we call sarcopenia, is when you're literally losing muscle, is the important part is as we age, the reason why we're starting to lose so much muscle is it's that old saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. But also as we age, for a lot of people, you're seeing a lot of people's hormones change. So testosterone tends to go down, growth hormone tends to go down, cortisol seems to go up, insulin seems to go up, blood sugars grow up. And these things that are happening are often congruent, whether you're young or old, when you start to lose muscle. As you start to lose muscle, cortisol goes up, insulin goes up. Insulin is the fat storage hormone. Okay, so it's important to know a lot of the shifts that are occurring are because the body is shifting as well too. Now, I'll give you sort of a few reasons why I decided to let animal products go. Well, the number one reason was because I was unhealthy. I had high blood pressure. I also had sleep apnea and inflammation all through and out my body. And so out of desperation, to be honest with you, I decided to try going plant-based, removing all animal products from my diet. And in the span of about 30 days, I lost about 17 pounds. And I felt amazing. And in 60 days, I lost 45 pounds, just simply by first removing all animal products and then eating completely plant-based, not vegan junk food, not sodas or powders or any of that. So completely plant-based, original foods, okay? And so after that, I did the research. And as I'm doing the research on, I've always been told like the benefits of meat as it relates to, putting protein in the body, but I've never been told what are the downsides to meat. And so as I started to do this research, what I discovered was, meat comes with a lot of saturated fat. Okay, saturated fat is the very same fat that blocks arteries, that causes strokes and heart attacks. Okay, the number one cause of human death. Okay, so that was the first thing I was going to be helping myself with by getting rid of the meat, because I had high blood pressure. And I would like to assume a lot of that high blood pressure came as a result of having a lot of fat inside of the blood vessels. Okay, so I researched and found out that I was going to be eliminating that. The other issue with meat as well too that I discovered was that anytime you cook meat, which we all cook our meat, we don't eat it raw, it creates these compounds called heterocyclic amines. And these compounds are carcinogenic. They cause cancer. And so as I was reading the China study, which is a study that was conducted over 30 years, had over 6,000 participants, what it found was that people who had a composition of 5% or more of, animal protein in their diet, what they found was those people exponentially increase their risk for cancer. Okay, so that was the other thing. And the other issue is that is prevalent that most people know about is that much of the meat that most people are eating today, or animals that people are eating today, unfortunately, not only comes with the meat itself, but it also comes with antibiotics. It also comes with hormones. It also comes with these animals consuming food that they should not consume, like corn and soy. And so as a result, it makes these animals sick. And when we eat sick meat, we get sick. Okay? So all of those things are the reasons why I decided to let meat go, for that reason, on top of the fact that I regained a lot of health. And I have been suffering with high blood pressure for almost 10 years, since my teens. Okay? And so that's the reason why I let meat go, for that reason. And I'm starting with that so you understand, how do I get to a point where I'm talking to you about how do you build muscle with plants. Now, what I will tell you is that in the first 60 days, when I lost those 45 pounds and I got down to about 195 pounds at that point, because I had ballooned up to about 250, I looked and felt great. And then I started adding on other things. I got too excited, started doing juice fast, started doing water fast. And then I think I did about a 21-day water fast. And I got down to about 178 pounds, which oddly enough was the weight I was in high school. Okay, so it's the exact weight I was as an athlete in high school. And so I was surprised initially that I could even get down to that weight. But I also, to be honest with you, I didn't feel comfortable. I wanted to be bigger. I wanted to be stronger, because I felt as I was an athlete in college, I did get bigger and stronger. I gained about maybe 15 pounds of muscle after my freshman year of college, and I wanted to get more back to that. So then I had to go on this journey of figuring out, well, how do I add muscle? I figured out the perfect way on how to drop body fat, but now I had to figure out how to add muscle. Because what I learned was, in high school, I only had about 5 or 7% body fat. So I was like pure muscle in high school. And now I was trying to figure out how to add muscle back in. And I'll tell you, for me, burning fat was much more easier than actually adding muscle onto the body initially, because I didn't have a true understanding of it. And so I just thought it was the weight room. And what I quickly learned was, because I had gone through this transition again, where I had went plant-based vegan, then I started to do juicing, and then I was doing intermittent fasting, and then I was doing water fasting. Once you go through that, what you're gonna learn is that you don't need to eat the amount of food that you always ate. You don't need to eat three meals a day and also snacks. As a matter of fact, once I got to that point where I had gone through the fasting and lost so much weight that I got down to about 178 pounds, I was unable to consume more than one meal in a day. And so I found it very difficult to build muscle, because to build muscle, it's important to know and understand, to build muscle, you have to put the muscle under some type of stress, meaning workout, exercise, etc. Okay, to truly build muscle. And so to be able to do that, you got to break the muscle down, but to build it, you have to build it back up. And you have to build it back up with a combination of the exercises and the calories, okay? And so I found it very difficult to be able to do that. And then I finally mastered the combination of the two. And that has been what has allowed me to sort of grow muscle, build muscle. And I even have a video that I've seen like on the internet where somebody's, who I don't know, is saying, these vegans are out here and they're pretending to be vegan, and there's no way this person can be this big. I guess the person saw me at the gym or something. There's no way this person can be this big and this strong and not eat meat. And so, to be honest with you, I took the video as a compliment and less as a slander. But what I will tell you is it does take a little bit of mastering, and you're in luck today, because I'm going to share with you a little bit of how do you build muscle by simply just eating plants. Well, let's start with the foundation first. As I mentioned before, mentioned before, everything is about body composition, okay? So we're always talking about obesity, okay? People adding so much fat to their body, but what we don't talk about is the importance of adding muscle to the body, okay? Not just from the standpoint of aesthetics, okay? But from the standpoint of being healthier and adding more longevity to your life as well too. And that's one thing that I learned when I was in Okinawa, watching these people who were in their 80s and 90s, who were muscular, walking upright, doing gardening, doing farming, walking up hills, riding bikes. What I noticed was those people who were the healthiest also were very muscular as well too. All right, so let's get into it. First of all, it's important to know and understand that our bodies make certain amino acids, and then we have to get certain amino acids from our diet. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because when I say proteins are just combinations of amino acids, okay? Just combinations of amino acids, okay? So we have amino acids that our bodies make by itself, and then we have amino acids that we have to get from our diet, and these amino acids are called the essential amino acids, and there are 9 of them, okay? And so these amino acids are simply the building blocks to make a protein, okay? When I say protein, your heart is called myocardial, okay? Because it's heart muscle, okay? You have lung tissue, you have muscle that is used in the musculoskeletal system. So you have different types of protein. The protein that is in a cow versus in a human is different, but it's all based on the type of building blocks it used. And those building blocks are like bricks, okay? And those building blocks are called amino acids. So when you look at a brick house and you see those individual bricks, those are different proteins, okay? Different amino acids. Just think of it in terms of that. That's the first thing. So the important part is not that we need protein, we need amino acids to be able to build proteins, because our bodies are capable of building any type of protein. Why do I know that? Because if you have damage to your liver, our bodies are capable of regenerating our liver. Even if we lose 25%, only have 25% of our liver remaining after losing 75%, our bodies are capable of regenerating our entire liver just from 25%. Okay, so that tells us that our bodies can regenerate. Just like a lizard could lose its tail and regrow it, we have parts of ourselves that we can also regenerate as well too. So our bodies have that capability. All right, so with that being said, we just need to provide it with the necessary nutrients, i.e. amino acids, not proteins, okay? Amino acids to be able to build that type of tissue that it needs to build. Now, here's why that's so important, because when you eat animal protein, your body still has to break that down, okay? We have to metabolize that. So when you eat any kind of meat, it has to be broken down from that protein structure, which is the entire meat, down to the amino acids. And then your body has to determine what type of protein do I need to provide to the body. Do I need to build muscle protein? Okay. Do I need to rebuild the liver? Okay. Do I need to add more muscle to the heart? Okay. So it's really important to understand, all right? It doesn't matter what type of meat somebody eats, it has to be broken down to the amino acids. That's why it goes into the stomach acid, that starts to break it down. The pancreas release certain enzymes to help break down that meat as well to the individual amino acids, okay? Now here's the cool thing about plants. Plants are much easier to break down than meat. We all know that. I don't think anybody would refute that. The other thing is, you can get all of those 9 essential amino acids from plants. There's not one essential amino acid you can't get from plant. Okay, so those 9 essential amino acids are going to be methionine, threonine, histidine, valine. What else we got on there? We got phenylalanine, we have tryptophan, isoleucine, leucine, and then lysine. Okay, so we have 9 essential amino acids that our bodies don't make that we can get from plants. Now, here's the other part I'm going to make very transparent. And if this doesn't make common sense to you, then common sense just doesn't make sense to you. Now, when people tell me all the time, they'll say, well, I need to eat meat because I got to get my protein. I always tell them, what are the primary animals that we typically are getting our protein from? Okay, what are the primary animals that people eat? Okay, cows, pigs, chickens, throw some lamb in there, okay? And then some fish, all right? But the cows, pigs, and chickens are the primary ones. I want you to ask yourself a question. Do any of those animals eat meat to get their protein? Think about that for a second. Do cows, pigs, or chickens eat meat to get their protein that you're consuming to put protein in your body? No, none of them eat meat. So if they're capable of manufacturing protein, their muscle, think about it. A cow, an ox, a gorilla, a rhino, none of them eat meat. Some of the strongest animals in the world, elephant, some of the strongest and biggest animals in the world, which means that they have to produce a lot of protein. None of them eat meat to create their muscle. Okay, so what would make you think that nature has positioned us in such a way where we're not capable of manufacturing protein, muscle from plants? Okay, so like I just want you to put that in perspective for a second. So then we go into the common sense corner, and from there we can understand, okay, what we've been taught about, protein is a myth. That's why in my book, Vegetation Over Medication, I dedicated an entire chapter to the protein myth, okay? Because we've been lied to around, protein. Some of those myths are only animal protein can give you protein, okay? You can only get your protein from animal meat. That's a myth, okay? I've literally been living on this planet Earth for almost 13 years with no meat, and I'm still here. So that tells you one thing. Number two, you got to eat meat because you need vitamin B12. Well, vitamin B12 doesn't even come from animals. It is actually a bacteria, okay? And guess what? There are plant-based sources of vitamin B12, and I'll tell you this, working at a hospital and seeing how many prescriptions I had to give out for a vitamin B12 deficiency, it is not just vegans, okay? Vitamin B12 deficiency is very common, but vitamin B12 deficiency is very common because so many people have gut issues. As a matter of fact, I did a video on low stomach acid. Check that out. When you have low stomach acid, you will not be capable of actually processing, metabolizing, utilizing, and absorbing the vitamin B12 that you actually do eat. So a lot of people will have vitamin B12 deficiency because they have low stomach acid. The acid is required to cleave off what is called a R protein, so that then the vitamin B12 will become active instead of, just going out through your poo. Okay, so it's really important. That's a myth also. And also, you can't get complete proteins from plants. I'll tell you two of them, two sources of complete proteins in just a second. So hold on for that. So I had to break down that first so you at least have an understanding. And now we're going to get into the four ways that you can actually build muscle with plants. Number one, and this is important, you need to increase healthy calories, okay? Increase healthy calories, all right? Now, I'll tell you, I only eat once or twice a day, but all my calories, I try to make sure they're as immaculate and as healthy as possible, okay? So there's no wastage, okay? But if you truly want to build, it depends. When I say build muscle, there's levels to it. So if you want to build muscles like you're in the gym working hard, then you definitely need to increase your calories. I would say by at least 300 or 400. If you just want to build muscle because you don't have a lot of muscles, you don't have to necessarily increase your calories by a significant amount, okay? Especially when you're eating plant-based, because the important thing to know and understand about that, the healthier you eat, the more nutrition you're gonna get in your diet and the less calories plants have, okay? So you're not gonna get a lot of calories, but I'm gonna give you a few ways that you can get some of those, the best calories to get in for some of those healthy muscles. Okay, so that's the first way. You got to increase healthy calories. Okay, I do that by making smoothies. That's the one way you can pack a lot of calories into one serving. Okay, one 16-ounce smoothie. Okay, so in my smoothie, I'll have some green leafy vegetables. Sometimes I have some berries in there. I'll also have some nuts. So maybe I'll have a nut milk in there as well too. I will have a combination of things to pack in those calories to help me build muscle. Okay, because you can't build a pyramid with one brick. Okay, it requires effort. Okay, so you have to put in the extra calories if you're trying to build muscle. Okay, and the other thing is adding in some healthy fats like avocado, nuts and seeds as well too. That's how you add in the calories that way as well too. Okay, so number one, increase healthy calories. Okay, this is one of the things that on my journey I was struggling with, because I had gotten to a point where I was only eating once a day and I wasn't eating very much, so I wasn't getting a lot of calories in. So it's very hard to build muscle. So I had to increase my calories. Okay, so now I'm somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 meals a day and a plant-based protein smoothie. No powders, only whole foods. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, eat high quality proteins. Eat high quality proteins. I'll give you some examples. Okay, some of these I put in the smoothies. Some of these I make sure I eat with my meals. But chickpeas, great source of protein. Okay, quinoa, spelt and teff, and I lean on teff because teff doesn't have gluten, spelt does. Okay, so those are great sources of protein as well too. Chia seeds. Chia seeds are a complete protein. They have all of the 9 essential amino acids that your body doesn't make. Okay, so you can get all of your proteins from the chia seeds. Also mushrooms. Some of my favorite are going to be lion's mane, oyster mushrooms. Those are some of my favorites. So I'm eating those a lot as well too. Hemp seed, another complete protein. You get not all 9 of the essential amino acids when you put hemp or hemp seeds in your smoothie or on your Buddha bowl or in your salad, etc. as well too. And then wild rice. So don't eat that regular white rice I don't even eat the brown rice. I eat wild rice, which is more of the original rice we're supposed to have. And that also has a lot of protein as well too. So you want to make sure you get those healthy sources of protein. Powders are not a healthy source of protein, okay? Because most of them aren't natural ingredients. If you read the ingredient list, most of those things aren't natural. It'll say a whole bunch of vitamins and minerals, but it doesn't tell you where they come from because they're not natural vitamins and minerals. Okay, so I try to get them from whole sources. Okay, all right, so that's number 2. Number 3, correcting hormonal imbalances. A lot of the reasons why we're actually losing muscle is because of hormonal imbalances. I'll give you an example. If you have insulin resistance or high blood sugar and you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, or you're not either, but your blood sugars are constantly high, or your insulin is always high. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. It will tell your body to constantly store fat and not build muscle. The reason why that's so important is because if you have that imbalance, it won't matter how much you work out if your body's metabolism is saying store fat. Okay, so correcting hormonal imbalances, and insulin is a hormonal imbalance. Okay, you can primarily correct that through the diet. If you're one of those people who converted from a type 2 diabetic to a type 1, but a lot of the type 2 diabetics suffer from insulin resistance, which means that insulin can't escort the sugar that is in the blood into the muscle cell. Okay, that's insulin resistance. And the primary reason it can't is because there's fat clogging up the cell. Okay, so it's important to know and understand that. Correcting that hormonal imbalance, correcting estrogen dominance. There's so much estrogen in our environment in the form of plants. Plastics. Okay, plastics create a lot of what are called xenoestrogens. Okay, these are fake estrogens or endocrine disruptors. Okay, you also find them in a lot of processed foods. You also find them in a lot of cosmetic and hygienic products as well too. So you want to avoid ways that you're adding estrogen to your body in the form of plastics, those things that I mentioned before. But also if you're on some type of birth control pills as well too. As you add more estrogen to the body, you are going to store fat. Okay, so that's another imbalance that you need to correct. Or low testosterone. If your testosterone is low, you will not be able to build muscle. To all my fellas out there, if your testosterone is low, you will not be able to build muscle. Okay, so that's the reason why it's also so important that people realize it's not just about eating and how you work out. You also have to make sure you don't have hormonal imbalances, because sometimes just simply changing your diet or changing how you work out isn't enough. You have to address these issues, and sometimes it's elimination. Sometimes it's things that you need to add on as well too. Okay, so that's number 3, correcting hormonal imbalances. And number 4, and most importantly, is if you want to look like an athlete, you need to train like one. Okay, and the reason why I say that is this: a lot of people will come to me and say, hey, I want to get lean, I want to get, fit, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, send me a picture of what you want to look like. And when they send the picture, it's like Serena Williams or like some athlete, LeBron James with an 8-pack, a gun show and legs that are just popping. And what I tell them, I was like, well, are you willing to train like the athlete trains? Okay? Because I'll give you a few differences. If you want to look like a track star looks very different from how, let's say for instance, you have a sprinter versus a person who does cross country. They look very different. Okay? You have a basketball player versus a football player. They look different. Okay? So the question is, are you willing to train like them? Are you healthy enough to train like them? Okay? I always ask people that. Okay, because the athlete will kind of dictate the type of activities they do and the type of training they do as well too, to achieve the physical results that they achieve. And you have to understand there's a massive amount of effort that goes into that. Okay, so is your body healthy enough to do that? And are you willing to do that? Okay, now if you're willing to do that and your body isn't currently healthy enough, there are ways that you can gradually move yourself into that direction. I've seen people in their 70s and their 80s who look more fit than people who are in their 20s and their 30s, okay? So it's capable. It doesn't matter what age you are. It just depends on where you are. You start from there and you gradually move up, okay? So you begin with body weight exercises. I tell people that's the best way to start, because you need to master your own body weight before you started adding on the weights, okay? Master your own body weight. That means that you're focusing on calisthenics. That means you're focusing on things like push-ups, jumping jacks, pull-ups, squats, things of that nature, okay? Add in some jump rope eventually, okay? Once you master that, now you've mastered the movement of your body and mastered your own body weight. Now you can start to master the additional weight. For me, that has always been the healthiest way to approach it, because my thing for people is I'd rather get you structurally fit and increase your range of motion, and also improve your health along the way with nutrition, so that your body can take the training that is required to be able to get to the fitness level that you desire. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful in terms of like giving you a little bit of a roadmap on how do you navigate going from essentially where you are to where you want to go. Of course, there's a lot of other details that I can't go through in this video, because otherwise, as you see, this is about a 30-minute video. We'll be here for hours, but I do think this is the great beginning and start line to start that fitness journey for yourself. So if you enjoyed the video, you had any aha moments, put them down in the comments. Make sure you share this, subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next video. Until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.